Good afternoon. We're continuing our coverage of the deadly flooding in the Hill Country.
Governor Abbott just got off from a helicopter after surveying damage. He's holding a press conference right now to give us the latest update. We want to take a quick listen into what he has to say. All right, it looks like they are in the process of setting up right now. This is in Hunt, Texas right now. As you can see, they're now calling it Hunt Strong. They're set up right in front of an area where the press conference is getting ready to take place. And Governor Abbott is there because we just saw him a minute ago, and he is ready, almost ready to speak. And
this is exactly at Hunt Store, which is kind of like a center point for all the locals in Hunt, for a lot of campers. This is right in the upper Guadalupe River Valley. And as you mentioned, I mean, with the destruction that they had, what was so moving in the last few days, changing the name of that store to Hunt Strong, with the Texas flag right there. In terms of this aerial view that the governor just went on, he had other state leaders with him in the chopper, just kind of giving that assessment of what this area looks like in the Hill Country right now. I would say that tour was probably within 30 to 45 minutes. We were following along, streaming on all of our social media platforms, and then the governor, along with other state leaders, will be holding this news conference where we are expected some sort of update, not just in the Hill Country, but of course, I mean, just tragedy all across the state, Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, in the last couple of days, we did see the governor a couple of days ago surveying damage by land. And so now that he's doing this by chopper, we should get a much better idea, hopefully from the governor, what kind of damage we're looking at. Of course, we do know that it's so widespread. I mean, you're talking about so many areas impacted throughout Kerr County and Kendall County as well. As of this morning, we did get an update around okay, here's the aerial footage right now. This is what you're seeing here is exactly what the governor was looking at in the last hour as he was trying to survey the damage from the chopper. But what I was going to say is around 11 this morning, we heard a late update from county officials with the latest count, which is 87 bodies recovered so far, 56 adults, 57 adults now, 30 children. Some remain unidentified. 5 girls and 1 counselor from Camp Mystic are still unaccounted for. Whether that number is going to change when we hear from Governor Abbott right now, that remains to be seen. Of course, we are expecting that it will be. It's just a matter of getting the latest. And it looks like the governor is getting ready to speak. Here we go. Let's listen.
I visited with some locals who live around here, including a family member of the owner of this store. I let her know that I first came to the store about 21 years ago. Been to this store every year for many years. I've seen these little campers since they were just a little bit bigger than toddlers, young kids. I've seen them grow and mature into beautiful young men and women. Nothing is as heart-wrenching as hearing the stories of what the girls around here, especially the girls at Camp Mystic, went through. To see where they lived in one moment, where they disappeared the next moment, and were gone forever a few moments after that. I wanted these people to know, I want you all to know, the hearts of our fellow Texans are breaking every single day because of what people of this community and the surrounding area are going through. There's nothing more important on our hearts and minds than the people of this community, especially those who are still lost. I told them what we were doing, not just today, but what we are going to be doing for the days, weeks, and months to come. This is what they needed to hear. They need to know Texas is in this with the people in the Hill Country right here. We are not leaving until this job is finished. The job right now, the primary job right now, continues to be locating everybody who was affected by this flood. There still remain those who are missing. We have to find every single person who's missing. And that's job number one. While we are doing that job, it's important that we also be conducting other business affecting this storm. We did several things in that regard today. One is to get a better assessment about what exactly needed to be provided for the community. We took a flyover to get that assessment. I've been here for multiple times over the course of the past 2 decades, but multiple times over the course of just this one flooding episode. And I have a good feel on the ground of what is needed. But when you're in the air, you get a fuller perspective of how widespread, how catastrophic the damage is, and what must be done to fully address it. We were able to process that better today when we flew around. And on that fly around today, I had with me the Speaker of the House, Dustin Burrows, who's going to speak after myself. I want to provide you with some information, some of which is just now updated. First, the numbers that I have is that there are 94 fatalities. 94 fatalities associated with this flooding event in this area. Separate from that, in other flooding events in other parts of the state of Texas, there's another 15 fatalities for a total of 109. To put this into perspective, just in the Kerr and Kendall counties alone, there are far more fatalities than there were in Hurricane Harvey. That's how catastrophic this is. I also have some updated numbers on those who are missing. First, from Camp Mystic. My information is those who are missing is down to now 5 campers and 1 counselor. 5 campers and 1 counselor missing. In addition to that, there is another child not associated with the camp who is missing. So for Kerr County, that would be a total of 7 who are missing. In other parts of the state, there are 12 who are missing. I have a new number, however. So one thing we've been reaching out to the public about is to get better information about those who were not registered at a camp, those who were not registered at a hotel, those who may have been down here who no one really had any accounting of. And through law enforcement agencies working together, they provided me this number. Just in the Kerr County area alone, there are 161 people who are known to be missing. And again, that comes from combined law enforcement efforts, 161 known people who are missing. Know this, we will not stop until every missing person is accounted for. Know this also, there very likely could be more added to that list. One way that we were able to expand the list of those who are missing is because family members, friends, neighbors, etc. begin calling in and reporting them as missing. What I want to do is once again provide a reminder to anybody watching this that if you have a friend, a family member, somebody that you think may be missing because of this storm, we need you to call the number that I'm about to give you. It is 830-258-1111. That's 830-258-1111. If you want to go to a website address, you can go to kerrvillemissing@dps.texas.gov. I'm going to repeat it twice more. That's Kerrville, spelled Kerrville, no space, then the word missing, MISSING. So Kerrville Missing at dps.texas.gov. So either call that phone number, go to that website, and provide the name and the best identification you can and the last known location of anybody that you think is missing. Know this also. If you make a prank call or provide false information, that's a crime. Do not provide false information because you're hindering our ability to undertake this investigation, hindering our ability to actually rescue and find those who truly are missing. So you better be correct when you're calling in and let us know that there is somebody who is missing. Importantly, we know that so many families are going through grief that's beyond anyone's comprehension right now, beyond any of us being able to walk up to them and give them the magic words that will make them suddenly feel healed. We know that they need grief counselors. We have 5 organizations that together are providing dozens of grief counselors for all of the affected family members around here. It's so important at times like this for family members to access that grief counseling so they can have their mental and emotional health needs addressed in what may be the most challenging time of their lives. Something else that's a help as we begin the process of helping places like the Hunt store, the local community, Hunt, Texas, be able to rebuild. One thing that is speeding that recovery was the immediate granting of the major master declaration that was granted by President Trump. It immediately opened not only access to more funding, but also access to more resources to be able to more quickly, more effectively respond to this storm. That includes debris removal, which has already begun. It includes assistance for individuals who are eligible to apply, and the director of Texas Division of Emergency Management will explain more about that in a second. But there are 2 categories of people or entities that there is money available to assist. One are individuals affected by the storm. Another are public entities like the town of Hunt, like the town of Kerrville, like the county of Kerr, etc. They may have needs with regard to roads or utilities, whatever the case may be. Now the assistance is available for them to more effectively and more quickly address that. With regard to roads, anybody who's driven around here knows that there are some roads that need repairs. The Texas Department of Public Safety is working 24/7 to make sure they're going to be getting these roads repaired and passable as quickly as possible. Going back to President Trump, he and I spoke again this morning, and he could not stop talking about how sad he was for all the little girls who've lost their life. He recounted his own understanding of what happened with what was really a tsunami wave of wall of water that swept too many of them away. And he cares a lot about those young ladies. And he wants to step up and make sure that any need that we have here in Texas is going to be met very quickly. And he's already done that by helping to provide the quick assistance by sending down Secretary Kristi Noem, who, listen, I've been dealing with events like this for 10 years. Never have I seen someone respond as quickly and as effectively as what Secretary Noem did. Also, while coming over here, I received this text from Secretary Kennedy. It says the following. It says, Governor Abbott, it's Secretary Robert Kennedy. It says, we are set to declare a public health emergency for the Texas Hill Country flash floods. This will make it easier for healthcare and mental health providers from out of state to help both by traveling to the area and by telemedicine. Please let us know where we can be most helpful, which I will let him know. But I just wanted you to know about that new update. Now I would like to turn things over to the Speaker of the Texas House, Dustin Burrows.
Thank you, Governor. First, to the members of the community and to all of those who've been impacted, the survivors, those who've lost loved ones, I know there's not any adequate words any of us can express to share our care and concern. But I want to promise you, every person in this state, every tip of it, we have held you in our thoughts, in our prayers, and we will continue to do so as you go through this and you take care of what I know all Texans can endure. I had the opportunity to fly with Governor Abbott today over the damaged area. It is hard to comprehend the amount of water that came through in such a short period of time. It is unimaginable what the victims and survivors went through as they were faced with that, and we heard the stories about that. And looking at the debris and looking at the problems and all of the damage that's been done, I know there's a long road to recovery. But through that, we saw some silver linings. We saw Texas flags being flown proudly because we know people of this state are resilient. We saw people from all over the state coming together and working and volunteering and trying to begin helping rebuild and continuing with the search and recovery efforts. I have had members of the Texas House from all over the state looking for ways to help. You have a great local representative with West Verdell, but I promise you, every Texan, all 150 members of the Texas House have been looking for ways to help, whether it's helping to raise money or wanting to do things. They are committed to it. I want to thank Governor Abbott for saying that we will address these issues in a special session in 2 weeks. And I want to assure you, the Texas House will be organized, we will be ready, and we stand willing and able to listen to the community and experts and do all that we can to help address it from this perspective. So thank you all very much for the opportunity. I'll turn over the microphone.
This is the kind of event that the Speaker of the House would have come to in an ordinary situation. When you consider the fact that we're going to start a special session 2 Mondays from now, a special session that will have at the top of its agenda helping communities like in Kerr County, Kendall County, as well as in Central Texas and the Big Country, all areas affected by the floods of the past week. Those issues are going to be on the agenda for the state to address from top to bottom. We want to make sure that when we end that session, we end it making sure these communities are better, more resilient, and have the resources that they need for the next chapter of their lives. Now we have the director of the Texas Department of Public Safety, Freeman Martin.
Governor, thank you. The governor said it. We have 109 fatalities and 161 missing. Every asset and resource that the Department of Public Safety has is being used on this response. We have 258 people just from DPS assigned here in Kerrville. They're from the Highway Patrol, the Tactical Marine Unit, Criminal Investigators, Texas Rangers, SWAT, IOD and ICT, and Victim Services. And you ask, well, what do all these do? Everybody does something different. Everybody understands search and rescue. When the governor mentioned 161 missing, the city of Kerrville stood up a line that if you can't get a hold of a loved one, if they're missing in the Kerrville area, call this number. That number grew to several hundred. These analysts worked with Kerr County Sheriff's Department and the Kerrville Police Department to narrow that down. People that have been identified as deceased, people who have been found alive, deconflicted, the numbers that have been reported twice, and we are still down to 161 missing. All I can tell you is there's nothing to celebrate about how well we've done this far, but there's a lot of work to be done. And we're thankful that the speaker standing behind us and the governor, the Texas legislature has funded us, and we're properly staffed and equipped to respond to this. Just this last session, a few weeks ago, we were given 6 replacement helicopters and 1 fixed wing. That is exactly what we use to respond to these. I'll tell you another thing, we have plenty of resources, but at the same time, We're not turning down one resource until we recover every last person on this list of 161. So we have FBI, DEA, HSI, the United States Border Patrol, the United States Coast Guard, everybody working together under a unified command, and we won't stop until we finish. A couple of things. Right now in Burnett County, we have 3 Zodiac boats and 26 DPS personnel from the Tactical Marine Unit and the Texas Highway Patrol continuing searching. I'm in constant communication with the Travis County Sheriff, Sally Hernandez. They are helping us at the medical examiner's office, and at the same time, they have as many as 10 people that are missing from Travis County. As we pulled in the parking lot, I got off the phone with the sheriff from Williamson County. They just recovered their last victim. They had 3 people that were swept away, and just minutes ago they recovered their last victim in Williamson County. There's a lot of work to be done in Kerr County and Kendall County. We will continue to grow this and add additional agencies as we go forward, but the governor's right, we won't stop until every last body is recovered, alive or not. So thank you very much. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Now, General Seltzer with the Texas National Guard.
Thank you, Governor. I just got off about an hour-long helicopter trip with the governor, and I can tell you what I saw was miles and miles of massive devastation. The Texas National Guard will stay here working with our federal, state, and local partners to search for the missing and to help our communities recover.
Well, I can't hear. Just the trucks?
Was this the trucks? We will continue using assets such as search crews on the ground, high-profile military vehicles, Black Hawk helicopters with rescue hoists, and heavy Chinook helicopters in order to conduct search and rescue, evacuation, and to insert critical safety teams into austere areas to help life-saving. Aiding us in the effort today is the arrival of 4 Black Hawk helicopters from the state of Arkansas. That grows our agency count to 13 helicopters in support of this effort. Additionally, overhead, for the last 3 days, we have had MQ-9 Reaper remotely piloted aircraft conducting search and rescue operations. We are working with other states to get additional crews to support so that we can expand the coverage of that search and rescue operation. And lastly, we have shelter management crews that are working within the community to help those in need. I would like to close by saying something that the governor has said many times before. He's said it many times today, but I'll emphasize it. Your National Guard will not leave until every person is found. And we will not leave until our communities are recovered. Thank you.
Thank you. General Seltzer rightfully mentioned and thanks the state of Arkansas for helping out with those Black Hawks as well as other resources. I jotted down from memory what I think is every state that I know has either provided help or offered it or is on its way. I say that I'm hoping I'm not leaving anybody out. But our fellow governors and fellow states are helping out from Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Iowa, Nebraska, Ohio, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, and I regret if I missed your state. I'll try to come back to it here in a second. But next is Chief Nim Kidd with the Texas Division of Emergency Management.
Thank you, Governor. I want to start by thanking all of you for standing out here in this heat and experiencing a little bit of what the volunteers and first responders are dealing with around the clock as we continue our search. We have 4 priorities. They are the continuation of the search. They are debris cleanup and removal. They are supporting individual assistance programs and public assistance programs. I'm going to dive into some of the details of those. We continue our search operations not just here in Kerr County, but in the other 5 counties where we have people that are reported missing. As you can see and hear by the trucks passing by, debris cleanup is well underway. I want to thank the volunteers and all of the private sector partners that are out there working on debris operations right now. This will aid in the continuation of our search. We are pushing forward to help those whose homes and businesses have been impacted through the FEMA Individual Assistance Program. The President's program has people here on the ground today that are working to get people registered through our websites and start opening disaster recovery centers today and tomorrow. Damage assessments for those locals are still underway, and we've had over 1,000 submissions into the ISTAT program. Please, if you have not submitted into the ISTAT program yet and your home or business was impacted, you send that information to us. Next, we continue. Well, that didn't work out. Next, we continue to work on our public assistance for our communities, working to get our roads repaired, our debris cleaned up, our water, wastewater, and utilities back up online. Finally, I need your help in getting the message out to help keep the roads cleared. You've seen a lot of damage in these roads as our TxDOT crews are out trying to repair those roads right now, while we still have a lot of traffic in our emergency operations. I want to thank you again for your time and your patience in helping us get this message out.
Thank you, Chief. Yesterday, I met with families at Camp Mystic. I made a commitment to them. The day before, I met with residents of Kerrville. Today, I met with residents of Hunt. I made a promise to all of them. Texas will not stop until we finish the job. We will not stop until we identify, recover every single body. We'll not stop until every road is rebuilt, every inch of debris is removed. We'll not stop because we are a state that cares about our people, cares about our communities, and we'll be with them every step of the way. We'll take a few questions.
Governor, Frankie, Uvalde happened.
People have said that they didn't receive any emergency alerts on their phones. And are you going to have that conversation with the city manager? I asked this because earlier today during the conference, he really didn't respond to our questions related to how long it took him to evacuate people. Can you speak on that?
So obviously the local officials who were on the ground at the time would know the most about that. But let's talk about it in this way. That's going to be one of the issues that we begin to address in less than 2 weeks in the state legislature. We're going to address every aspect of this storm to make sure that we're going to have in place the systems that are needed to prevent deadly flooding events like this in the future.
Governor, when Uvalde happened, Governor, you led an investigation back then. Are you going to ask for investigation in this case?
So we say when Harvey happened?
No, Uvalde.
Oh,
Uvalde happened.
Yeah.
And it was gross negligence back then. Now this happened, and the death toll is enormous. Are you going to ask for investigation? Who is to blame here, Governor?
Right. So I'm going to talk about two different things. The first part of your question, and that is an investigation. We know a special session's coming in about 10 days. That's where, I would say where it begins. Candidly, those investigations will begin by both the House and Senate before we go into session. So probably beginning later this week or the early part of next week, there'll be committees formed that are already kind of working on ideas about ways to address this. Second part of your question needs to be addressed. You ask, and I'm going to use your words, who's to blame? Know this. That's the word choice of losers. Let me explain one thing about Texas, and that is Texas, every square inch of our state cares about football. You could be in Hunt, Texas, Huntsville, Texas, Houston, Texas, any size community, they care about football. High school, Friday night lights, college football, or pro. And know this, every football team makes mistakes. The losing teams are the ones that try to point out who's to blame. The championship teams are the ones that say, don't worry about it, man, we got this. We're going to make sure that we go score again, that we're going to win this game. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions. What Texas is all about is solutions. In fact, I want to read you something that I received last night that's worth emphasizing to put this in context. tragedy has come. That part is done. What we do now, who we are now, that's what the story is still being written. Let it be one of grace, of grit, of fierce love in the face of grief. Let it be the kind of story that proves that the hill country may flood, but it does not fail. Say what you will about Texas, but when the rivers rise, so do we. Not with blame, not with bitterness, but with boots on the ground, arms around strangers, and hearts wide open. That's the Texas I know, and that's the America that I believe in. What this person wrote is what I know is true for all Texans and what we will achieve every single day.
Governor, what kind of legislation do you hope to see come from this special session?
You know, part of the legislative process is policy is not made in a vacuum. We have ideas. I've served on 2 investigatory committees out of the House before I was Speaker, both Uvalde and Panhandle wildfires. There are things that we can talk about, but it is too early to commit to know the specifics until we actually talk to the members of the community and hear what they think. Talk to the experts in the field. Talk to the first responders. That's what legislative hearings are for. We are ready to get started. The legislators I talk to, the members of the House, and I know the Senate, are very interested in finding solutions to not accept that we can't do better, but we will have those hearings. We will synthesize what we get, and we will come up with legislation that I believe will make it to the governor's desk and make us a stronger, better, more resilient Texas.
Governor, what do you say to these families that say these solutions, they may be a little too late?
Well, so one thing that we're focused on is making sure that we deliver the right solutions. One thing the speaker just said is worth emphasizing, and that is that for us to provide real solutions, we actually need to hear from the people who are the ones most affected. The ones most affected, they're dealing with the grievance of having lost a child or lost a business or otherwise have their lives turned upside down. They don't have the capability right now of providing that information. We'll talk to local leaders, importantly, not just here, but across the state. And we want to make sure that we address what happened here, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we are able to implement measures that are going to be able to prevent loss in other regions going forward. So we have our work cut out for us, but I know the members of the House and members of the Senate, I know we'll work and get some meaningful things done.
Governor, I have a here, sir. First of all, I want to acknowledge the superhuman work that's happening to these rescue and recovery efforts, but there are growing concerns in this community about who is in charge during those critical hours when that first alert came in at 1:14 and when the wall of water arrived here just before 5 a.m. What is your level of concern here, and what are we looking into?
So again, my focus isn't on trying to say, oh, you did wrong or you should have done better there. My job is to bring Texas and Texans together and make sure that we immediately start delivering on solutions. You talk about the heroic effort, and no one has seen the level of response as what Texas has provided over the past 4 days or so. And we continue to maintain that response here while also going to the state capitol and working on around-the-clock responses there to make sure that we do deliver real solutions for these people sitting right behind you.
Governor Abbott, can you confirm that state and local officials received the first warning at 1:14 a.m. and what happened between then and the 3 hours that went by before the start of the flooding?
Sure. So what your question is about what local officials knew? You'd have to ask them. What the state was aware of, the state was aware that there was a possible serious flooding event days in advance, and we pre-positioned assets and resources and personnel. And remember, the flood began on Friday morning. We originally positioned those assets, resources, and personnel on Wednesday. Then when greater clarity was discerned on Thursday, we moved them closer, added, and made sure that we had adequate supply going into Friday. So we were ready with the resources on the ground to be able to quickly respond. Some people say, well, we responded so fast. One reason we did respond fast is because we had assets here already. That said, we didn't know the magnitude of the storm. We knew that there was a flash flood warning. And if you heard a flash flood warning, no one would know that would be a 30-foot high tsunami wall of water. I don't think. But all I can tell you is the information we had, the state had, and that we acted on, was information that catalyzed us to begin putting assets and resources in place 2 days before the event happened.
We have time for 2 more, folks.
A follow-up, sir. I'm local.
Yep.
My name's Courtney Dowling. I'm born and raised here. We were not prepared. As a community, we've come together and tried to be prepared. With all due respect, I had no idea you were going to be here today. I was out with a team.
Well, so if I could say this.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd like to say my question.
Sure.
My question is, we're all very broken here. Well, what's keeping us strong is we are the backbone of this community. We appreciate everything you've done. We're the backbone of this community. We just want to have justice, to have a control over the fact that pitch black, y'all. You're in the middle of nowhere, no Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, no Wi-Fi, no resources. It's camp. You don't have cell service. Pitch black, and we had no control. And part of our healing, part of our recovery, is to stay strong and get that control. And with your help, we really, really want it. We appreciate y'all, but can we establish someone?
Yep. Well,
It could be me. It could be anyone.
I'm gonna
Someone
connect you
in
with
control.
someone. Yeah. So
Someone in control who can facilitate and speak for the people, who isn't in politics, who isn't law enforcement, and just someone to say, hey, look, I'm going to represent these people, please, and we're going to work side by side. We're all trying to get these
Right.
bodies. We love this community.
And
we can do it together.
I got the person for you. I'm
Yeah.
going to give you her name, her number, let you connect with her. But let me say this.
Yes, sir.
People talk about how strong Texas is.
Sorry.
People talk about how strong Texas is.
Yes, sir.
It's because of people like you. People who don't wait around
All of us.
for
sir.
orders and instructions. Yeah, and this, so like it, not just you, but like you. We saw the exact same response in Hurricane Harvey. People didn't wait for a boss to tell them what to do. There was no time clock to check in or check out. They said they're getting out their own canoe, their own kayak, and they're going to start helping neighbors before the sun rose up until after the sun set.
Yes, sir.
But all I wanted to let you know is the spirit that lies within your heart. And use the word blood in your bloodstream. You have in your blood what Texas is all about. And
Her house was emptied. It's still there. We've been through a lot, sir. Everybody's been back. We experienced justice. I can't imagine what everything was. It needs to stay We want to get back up there. We want to get back.
All right, folks, if you're just joining us, we just finished hearing a really big update from Governor Greg Abbott himself. He has spent the last couple of hours touring the area through helicopter and surveying all the damage, and gave us an update on numbers, gave us an update on missing people, which I would say is probably, one of the biggest headlines that we got out of this update, because for the first time today, we actually have an estimate on the number of missing people, and it is absolutely catastrophic, as he said. With the numbers that we're looking at now, he said this is a lot higher than Hurricane Harvey, and we're talking about Kendall and Kerr County alone.
Right, and that number right now, Sarah, 94 bodies have been recovered in Kerr and Kendall counties. In terms of that number of remain missing, this is more of a concrete number we have received for the first time. 161 reported missing in Kerr and Kendall counties, and the governor says that number is likely to go up. These are people who were not registered at hotels. These are people or children who were not registered at camps. These are just people who family members have been calling in for the last several days saying that their loved one is missing. And that just gives us a better idea of so many unaccounted loved ones. You think about those families right now who have been waiting the last several days, but also about the rescue operations that are happening of 161 spread out all throughout that area.
Right, exactly. And one of the things I did hear people asking, hey, we're seeing different numbers at 90 something here and 100 something there at different outlets. And the difference is the 94 fatalities, for example, right now is just in Kendall and Kerr County alone. And the reason they're focusing on that a lot of times is because that's where most of the devastation is. But of course, other parts of Texas, near Austin, 5 other counties were also impacted with several other deaths, putting the total of everyone who's passed away in this flood so far at 109. Now, there are still other missing people. That number could go up because if families haven't called and reported that person missing, they still don't know about those people. So they're asking families of missing people to please call 830-258-1111. We want to take Governor Abbott again. He's speaking again. Listen in.
Resources were deployed ahead of this flooding. At what point was the state in contact with Kerr County?
Wednesday and Thursday before the Friday morning.
So why was evacuation?
I can't answer the whys. I'm not going to answer the whys. You asked when we were in contact. We started having calls and messages on Wednesday from an area of I-35, out I-10, all the way to where it touches I-20, all the way back over to where I-20 touches I-35 again. That is a large chunk of Texas that was anywhere in the potential area where this kind of rain could have fallen. It picked this spot right here.
All right. One more question. Go ahead.
To get assistance, because we're hearing from a lot of people that they need help right now.
Yep. And so I just heard that moments ago. The man who's in charge of that assistance is Chief Nimkid. She wants to know how long does it take to get assistance?
How long does it take to get assistance?
We're hearing from people that FEMA takes a while, but we need help right now.
So the disaster recovery centers will be published in the morning of those locations. They can go to those locations and start getting aid. There are plenty of volunteers that are out there ready to offer aid right now, in addition to the federal assistance.
So you're saying that those centers will be open tomorrow morning?
Yes, sir.
Where?
We have the addresses. I need to confirm them, and then we'll put them out. They will be publicized. They will be publicized. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
And the governor there wrapping up this news conference where, again, we're just following several new developments at this hour. The governor and other state officials just taking an aerial tour along the hill country. But what we know right now is the governor has confirmed 94 people have been found dead after this devastation flooding in Kerr and Kendall counties. And the other big number at this hour, more than 160, about 161 is what the governor mentioned, that are missing right now in the hill country. But what Sarah was just adding to before we just dipped right back into the governor was that as for Texas in total, we about 109, I believe is what he said.
109
total deaths in Texas. And then, of course, there are other people also missing in about 5 other counties in Texas as well.
Yes, and the number of 161 missing in Kendall and Kerr, that is in addition to the 5 campers and the 1 counselor missing from Camp Mystic. So that is still out there as well. One of the things I was saying is if you have family members who are still missing, please call 830-258-1111, or you can email Kerrville missing at dps.texas.gov. This is really important because there are a lot of people who are still not reporting those who are missing. They said provide the name, best identification you can, and the last known location of that person. And they said do not make a prank call. It is a crime. You would be hindering that investigation, so you better be correct when you do call and report a missing person.
Unfortunately, that people are doing that right now. The other big takeaways is that the governor had mentioned that the public health emergency has been issued by the Secretary Kennedy that will allow for easier access to counseling services,
Right.
and which is certainly needed in that area right now. So that was something else that was noted. And also the governor making a promise that the special session that is set to begin in about 10 days, 2 Mondays from now, is that exactly what has happened in Texas, that will be the top of the agenda. Looking at everything, he said, from top to bottom. You know, a lot of the questions have been circulating regarding the warnings, you know, people getting evacuated, those things. The governor promised that legislators will be tackling that issue here in the next several days.
Yes, and he also mentioned that he has been in constant communication with President Trump as soon as this morning, talking about that disaster declaration that's going to be helping Texas get everything that is needed, anything from assistance for families, debris removal, mental health services like you just mentioned as well. Right now, that declaration, the health one, is going to allow for those counselors to travel in from out of state to Texas. It will make it a lot easier for these licensed counselors to practice here in Texas. I've also seen some places like telehealth, for example, offering free services, virtual care, 24/7 mental health services. They said you can text them, video calls, 24/7. They will have licensed therapists for you as well. So we're beginning to see a lot more of these services being announced now. It's very important. Mental health is going to be a huge part of it from this point on, as these families are dealing with so much trauma and so much loss.
Very much so. And as they mentioned, the priorities still remain about the search, which is still ongoing. When you think about 161 people missing, and that number could be bigger. But of course, they're dealing with the rough terrain and all the debris, which, as Sarah mentioned, that's the other big priority the state mentioned right now, is cleaning up that debris so that crews can be able to have access to go into all of these areas. And I think it was this morning, Sarah, that they mentioned that they had covered about 27 miles of the river, from what I believe this morning, is what the game wardens had mentioned this morning.
26 miles. And they said that one of the things they're seeing now, they're having to do a lot of it also by foot. And there are layers and layers and piles of debris that is obstructive to them. And so they also have to worry about their safety because there's still water. They don't know what's in that debris. They don't know what's in that water. So they said it's been very challenging. It is a very treacherous and dangerous and hazardous terrain. And they're just really having to navigate this very carefully. But they do have highly specialized teams also, and swiftwater boats that are still out there. So they have a good handle on it. They are asking to not bring your private boats or drones or helicopters. We've seen one yesterday where a drone collided with a helicopter, caused some damage, and that hindered a rescue effort. They're asking people to not go out and take video and sightsee. Again, that's getting in the way of first responders. Those are all so important. They mention them in every press conference because they keep running into those problems, and it's so important, folks, to heed those warnings.
And I just want to add that the video that you're looking at, this was the aerial tour that the governor and other state leaders went on right before his news conference. And he said that this flyover, the intent of this was to get a fuller perspective of what they're seeing. And he said they've been doing this, but today he said they got a better idea and process of what needs to happen, the assessment of things.
The assessment.
Because this is certainly a long road to recovery. As he mentioned, this is going to be several days, several weeks, especially when we have hundreds of Texans. I mean, it's just hard to digest that number, Sarah, and it has been since day one. But you think about just the uncertainty for these loved ones, and of course the families that have lost loved ones. It's just really tough.
And we're just all this time, we've just been talking about rescues and human life and the loss of human life. We haven't even started talking about the damage, really, because you have thousands more who've lost everything that they've ever worked for. As a matter of fact, they mentioned that they are now taking submissions. They have opened up the disaster relief centers today and tomorrow, where you can actually go and begin submitting your applications online as well. They have had 1,000 submissions so far. end. They're asking that you go ahead and begin assessing your damage and submitting all that information. One thing we did hear from Governor Abbott earlier is, we were just talking about, yes, today he got to get a wider assessment of all the damage, but he was also on the ground just a couple of days ago in person, and he did say he spoke with a lot of the families who have lost their loved ones in that area.
All right, now let's go to Weather Chief Bill Taylor. And Bill, we understand that you actually have some action on the radar right now.
Yes, the good news is it's not in Kerr County. Let's begin there. You saw the sunshine over that news conference. The rain is very heavy, but to the south and southeast of San Antonio, kind of creeping into southern Bexar County as we get into the rush hour. It's really been kind of focused in southeast Bexar County. A lot of heavy rain over Wilson County, but when it moved in, it did not last long. You can see it dissipated quickly after crossing right over pretty much 1604 at 181. And that was it. I mean, it didn't even really make it into downtown. Farther south, and some very heavy rain continues for the second day in a row for Atascosa County. I wouldn't be surprised if near Campbellton we're seeing some localized flooding there. These rainfall rates, and you can see it's only light rain across eastern Bexar County near St. Hedwig. Now, this is where the heaviest pockets are. And if you look at the scale, light rain falls on the gray colors, but once you start getting into some of these reds and purples, that is about 2 to 3 inches per hour rainfall rates. And that's just to the southwest of Floresville. So working our way into the evening, these are daytime heat-driven showers. Everything coming off the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to wind things down in the next 2 hours, and then it's a dry night. And then tomorrow, we'll start it up again. Here's 4 p.m.'s radar picture, and you'll see to the south, scattered downpours are expected, and we're probably going to thin things out just a bit on Thursday. What's at work is a little disturbance in the western Gulf, and we'll probably tap that out by tomorrow afternoon. Thursday's dry, but a weather impact alert is in effect for the Saharan dust. Looks to thicken a bit on Thursday. Then we're going to bring back some isolated rain chances on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're only looking at a 10% chance Friday, Saturday. July 13th is going to be the 20% chance. It takes us into July 14th, that Monday. Then the real story as we dry out is going to be the heating. We can see that highs will be closer to 100 as we get into the third week of July, especially the weekend of the 19th and 20th. And that means the feels like is going to soar up to about 104 to 105. So as far as rainfall goes, guys, just to kind of wrap this up, and it's good news, most of this rain that is occurring is going to be to our south and east where we can take it. But to the north and west, we should be dry for the time being.
All right. Bill, thank you for that update. Well, of course, political leaders across Texas and the nation have been in and out of Kerrville, as you know, providing all sorts of resources and support, especially, over the last few days after all that massive flooding.
And of course, right now, their priority is looking ahead and how to prevent this from happening again, as we just heard. But KENS 5's Earl Stoudemire explains further.
I spoke one-on-one with Senator Ted Cruz and State Representative Wes Verdell, and they both say their first step is to help the Hill Country rebuild and recover. Their next step is looking at what could be done better. Ted Cruz brought up the idea on how we can improve emergency response times and what can be most effective to accomplish this. I asked him about the possibility of a siren system along the Guadalupe River, and he says it could be a possibility, but wants to review the entire situation before making a move with federal support. What do you think, in your opinion, can be done better moving forward for here in Kerr County and Central Texas and the Hill Country that you're thinking about?
Well, listen, as I said, that's going to entail looking to what exactly transpired and taking time based on the actual evidence of what happened to say what would be more effective. I'm confident that conversation will play out in the weeks and months ahead.
On the state side, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick says the state should cover the cost for sirens to be installed along the Guadalupe if Kerr County can afford it. State Representative Wes Verdell